So this that we just important in every activities that we do, beginning with good intention, and then later when finished, rejoicing and looking back and feeling of accomplishment. Especially in spiritual or religious practice, as we mentioned before, even if it takes time, it's spending some time generating a very at the end kind of proper dedication for the sake of enlightenment. Or so with that, positive activities that we created, even it's a very kind of for short time, but it becomes very complete, very meaningful. And so this kind of practice is of course important, the advice is important, but this one is something that's very needed in our day-to-day life. It's like in our meal, it's like a salt, that makes that yes. Kentucky. Next point, train first in the easier practices. This is the root text. If you feel that it is difficult to take on the miseries of others and to give away your own happiness and merits, recall that at present you are training in these practices only on a mental level. When, due to acquaintance, you have gained prowess, actually engaging in giving and taking will not be difficult. So obviously here talking about the practice of giving and taking, Tonglen. This is very actually a common sense. whatever that we do, including our kind of schooling, we always start from easier one, and then as we get better in easier one, then we go to more difficult and more difficult and then most difficult, and that is the proper process. Here he's we find the same kind of same method. If you feel that it is difficult to take on the miseries of others and to give away your own happiness and merits, of course, for beginners like us, like us who are always all the time engaged in the thought, ecocentric activities. With that kind of thought, when we were told to kind of give your wealth, possessions, body, root virtues to others, that is really kind of beyond our understanding. It doesn't sort of make sense to us what this means, totally beyond our kind of thought. And so therefore here the advice is that just recall that at this moment you are doing just the mental practice, just in your thought. It's not something that you need to go out and do it physically. It's just in your thought, just do mental practice. And somebody with so full of somebody no idea about self-cherishing thought and self-grasping thought, and then again kind of telling to do a practice of giving and taking, it is kind of almost impossible. First of all, it doesn't make a sense, and then kind of be beyond ability. And so what is needed here is just kind of first start in our thought, in our mind, and it's kind of doing at the mental level, just thought training or mind training. And it will take a it will take a time, because we need to first make ourselves familiar with this practice in our thought, in our mind. And once we become more familiar, more kind of more practice, then later going out and doing it when in kind of physically in kind of realistic way, it becomes much more kind of easy. It makes sense. It becomes kind of something doable. And so going to doing a practice of generosity, such as giving just material wealth or giving of dharma or giving, all of this will come out very kind of spontaneously, naturally, and in an easy kind of. It happens same with the practice of once you reach to the high level of compassion. Of course, that practice of compassion begins with, again, mental level of thought. Once you reach at the very high level, then giving even a part of your body or even your body, physically there is a pain, but mentally, instead of becoming a suffering, there is a great joy, a sense of satisfaction, and one can reach to that level of, a sacrifice and ability to give it with. But again, the emphasis is, when he was teaching at Northern Kentucky, he has participants who is very interested in the, he says that he loves and a great interest in the concept of emptiness, but without even a very gross level of impermanence. So it is kind of jumping into really kind of a high kind of stage without having any kind of preparation. And in this kind of technique or method, there is a risk involved. So if you go and follow a proper kind of stages or processes, start from as mentioned here, first start with the easy practice, and then when you follow those easy practice, and as you go up higher and higher, the higher difficulties becomes much easier because of those easier processes that you have practiced before. So therefore, in the practice of Tonglen, giving and taking, it won't be difficult if you follow the proper stages or processes. Um, we'll stop after this. Whichever occurs, be patient with both. Whether happiness or suffering befalls the body and mind, as was explained in the context of transforming adverse conditions into the path, you should transform it into a factor conducive to accomplishing enlightenment. So whichever refers to kind of true extreme, it's a true experience, true extreme experience. One is happiness and another sadness or unhappiness, and so we need to have a patience to both of them, because our kind of tendency is that when we, as is mentioned here, when we face a suffering, either physically or mentally, sometimes it becomes so kind of we take it is or we kind of translate or we kind of receive it in such a way that as if kind of darkness falls upon us, that we behave like there's nothing to do, kind of and there's a darkness fall upon you, and you lost everything, and you are totally in a kind of desperate situation, and sort of as if there's no option at all. But that is really, he's saying that that shouldn't be the case here, and likewise, on the other hand, when there's a sense of joy and happiness, we become so kind of excited, so kind of anxious, so kind of, that might sometimes, without controlling it, might allow some other, problems, or it gives kind of opportunity to other, maybe, obstacles, So therefore, when you are having this kind of extreme, it is important to have a practice of patience and able to maintain stability of your mind or your thought or your emotion. And so, if one can, and here it says, when facing a problem, difficulties or suffering, if one can, then one can change, those into positive factors, which is conducive to attaining of enlightenment or altruistic mind. So when facing here, this is talking strictly from the point of view of being a practitioner. So we consider ourselves as a practitioner. So when we encounter these two extremes, how we should be responding, and when facing suffering or problems or difficulties, we can make up our mind and look at the suffering or problem with a very optimistic way, that it is good that I'm experiencing these difficulties while I am a human, and with the ability to deal it with the proper way, with all these facilities and good kind of circumstances, and I'm in a way to deal with it in a good way. So I have every kind of facilities to fix it, and that won't happen if I experience this suffering in another state or another rhythm. So in that way, you kind of instead of turning a suffering into more kind of suffering, you transform that into something positive, and then take it in a very optimistic way, and maybe because of my past karmic action, I'm experiencing this, and therefore in the future I need to be doing better so that I don't have to experience this again. So you can transform that adverse, negative, into something very positive. And so here what is happening is that although you are experiencing something, suffering, unhappiness, difficulty, you through your thought processes, you transform into something very positive. It's no more suffering anymore to you. And of course, on the other hand, when you face happiness and joy and success or accomplishment, just again think about it happened because of your past karmic deed, action, and so therefore you are experiencing this great success, happiness, and joyful, and therefore I will further kind of use this in a very positive, good way of benefiting others. And so when you face encounter of positive, good happiness, it will remain happiness and good and positive. And of course, and then on the other hand, when you face a negative and suffering, that will also become a positive and happiness. So and as I was saying, using example, it's especially being a practitioner, it might be helpful to remind us, especially when we get present during Christmas, people get so excited, they just, so being a practitioner, it would be kind of, deal with more kind of, I don't know, maybe more equanimity or neutral way of expression. So there is also risk of those becoming becoming eight mundane concern or eight worldly concerns. So if you kind of freely kind of express, it might become something negative or so getting a present and then becoming happy, and not getting a present and becoming unhappy is very worldly, worldly or mundanely nature. So therefore, for serious Buddhist practitioners, eight worldly concerns, gain and then becoming happy, and not gain, unhappy. Those shouldn't be any kind of becoming a concern for us. We need to be able to kind of maintain a kind of a stable thought, and not kind of sort of disturbed by these mundane or worldly concerns. Yeah, go ahead. Whoever.
The mind that's distracted and unfocused and full of discursive thought is really, really different from that same mind, the same mind that's focused and not distracted. Is there a way to distinguish, and awareness is engendered by that focused and undistracted mind. Is there a way to distinguish awareness from the same mind that experiences it? Or is it exactly the same thing?
그런 저와 대해서 나는 유지가 저기 셈발라오로 로라오 셰바 지게 제직도 내버지 아니 지게 제직도 내버 미요와 아니 초심바절 되게 독조여로 셈 셰바 베데 컬러레 제직바만 뭐 거기서 지게 셈 효등에 딩이 바를 케와 셰체도 아니야 컬러레 지게 셰바지 토네 다디 로 야가레 딜로 냠바레란 딘데게 셰바지 요래로 그것을 배진데게 예와 체통이라고 그래.
셰랍다 셰비 차시지를 셰바 승중하니 군동에 나는 거야. 눈보면 버터가 셰랍. 군동에 나는 거야. 아다 레닌 제긴데 승중 셰랍되기 레닌지야. 이야가를 두고 제가 선지지도 미내야 돼. 또 초고님이 또 지금 좋아하는 초고님이 또 지금 딱 그거 바kan지 좋아하다고 나는 딱 맞아 지지도 미내야 돼. 그러나 너 캠페인 제연도 가라. 그거 봐서 또 지는 거야. 아니 나나라 그 좋아해 선지 지지도 미내기 게가 샤 좋아서도 갈라 다 좋아도 고반이기 캐나가르도 오늘 도샤가 찾도록 지금 도샤 찾도록 좋아는 도샤 찾도록 이미 여말에 가와를 쳐나 좋아해 이 말하면 지금 말했어요 네 숨을 되게 나도 시고 말때 같이 경험을 했도 어떻게 이거라 지금 내 친구들 나는 좀 단다 고빠데 또 트러스 유데 도착 이르다 주고 와래 왕궁이 이르다 주고 와래 뒤들어라 뒤가서 당분 제거네 민수로 깨는 거래 셰바 차대래 셰라가 셰바래 좋아 셰바래 선지 지지도 조선 지지도 내야 돼 셰바래
awareness or here that kind of discriminate, here when we look at the so this awareness, or we can more specifically we can use this word wisdom. When we look at the mental factors, it is one of the it comes under the category of 5 omnipresent mental factor, and which one of them is wisdom. And here this wisdom specifically, it kind of discriminate or differentiate what is positive and what is negative. So this wisdom is the one that actually kind of differentiate positive from negative, or focus and not focusing. And the main kind of mental factor that kind of causes us sort of distraction is from the mental factors. We use these are the two. The first one is mind scattering of the mind, or sometimes wandering of the mind. The second one is agitation or excitement. When we look at these two, the second one, mental agitation and excitement, is that we find primarily in the sutra system, especially doing a calm meditation. This is considered as one of the main distraction. But the first one, scattering or wandering, we find in a Tantra or Vajrayana practice. In the Vajrayana practices, wandering or scattering of mind is considered as destruction, cause of destruction. The difference is one way of differentiating these two is the mental agitation or excitement. This second one that we find in the sutra is considered as the extension or part of the attachment. So when we have that mental agitation or excitement, usually the mind is kind of running after attachment related with the five sensory level. On the other hand, the first one, wandering or scattering, that doesn't necessarily has to be running after attachment or doesn't has to be part of attachment. However, in tantric practice, it is considered as a distraction. So this could be, for example, distraction of your thought from one positive virtuous state of mind to another virtuous state of mind. So that is wandering or scattering. It's not attachment, but that is a distraction in tantric meditation, although that is not kind of specified in the sutra. So here Krishna is saying that he's again quoting His Holiness explanation. So again, in Tibetan understanding of these two words, although there's a translation, but I don't know if the translation is that sense or not. In Tibetan, when we use these two, the first one is toa, wandering or scattering. It could be, it could be any of three different kind of state. It could be positive, it could be negative, it could be neutral state of mind. But talking about the goba, which is the which I translate as agitation and excitement, is considered as in its entirety it's a negative. There is no neutral and there is no positive. So that's how we differentiate between these two mental factors. The opposite of mind, which is so excited, which is so agitated, which is so kind of flirting, maybe super kind of hyperactive. The opposite is laxity or dullness, right? But again, when there's too much dullness, too much laxity, another way of saying is that when you bring mind too much inside, there's a subtle, what we call subtle dullness, and that again, that subtle dullness has a positive, mental factor. There's a positive aspect of it. Laura, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question about dedication and merit. So I understand the idea is that if you do a positive action and later on you do something negative, your emotional state, you become angry and you do something that you destroy the positive merit, and dedication of the merit before you do that negative action keeps that from being destroyed, and I just don't understand.
What?
I don't understand why that. It's like, to me, it's almost like a magical step you do, but I don't really understand.
The morang goma je di ko chuma sa ngowa chena da gewa majume chero chola ma de ngowa che ma chena ne da gewa shugula di alo de khongro da de gi nyeme de sasn di ko sasn gewa jom de keza jom de chero di ko chuma sa khandis da di gebor gumzen samdan da khandis tang ne lo
junjuna khongru kechi tabi kibu neme chi 통제 깨지면 지서 누스들이 기분 내면지 세번 답지지라 차 숨게 두주랭아지 사 숨게 두주랭아지는 근데 윤지 찌더라 통제 깨지면 지서 뭐 통주를 눌라 통로 끼지 들리면 끼지는 찌띠 어디가라 깔빠 예사를 가wan 중그리 이제 준준의 뜻으로야 우먼 주변 나라 깔빠 통도 사배 가wan 중그리 이제 수가 이 가wan 점제 됐고 하 두시디가라 깔빠 예 가와데 자주 세바 낭 편준이라 공부잖아 깔빠 예 뜻은 좀 소시키우 타말와 지기 자주 세바라 니베 네 공부잖아 깔빠 통도 사배 가wan 중그리 우먼 주변에서 손에 이 두신 타만 두신이 땐바도 풍도와 이 순간에 깔빠 중그리 해야 돼 깔빠도 통기가 되잖아 얘가 전 중그리 해야 돼 가자 개발하고 두신이 도바털리기 켜지 차수가 다른 전체 대자리 뭐 집에 대자리 중그라 말이야 있을 거야 뭐 집에 대자 뭐 마치 야샤나 차상 중고 중고 제상 뭐 제데 쉬우지 내쳐버리 있어 배샤망부지 안 받아 캔거나 구마 짜파기 쉬어야지 그거 담아던 채야 그럼 맹내 자샤이나 거기 없나 뭐 저는 맹내 쪽에다 찍히잖아 어다 두스니 숨도 와서 이 쉬우지 내쳐버리 야면 지겐지가
For the practitioners, this is something critical during a dedication at the end. We find this mentioned in two texts. The first one is Shantideva's text, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, he talks destruction of positive merits or positive karma that you created, specifically by anger or hatred. So he mentioned this, the anger or hatred that you generated and the duration of anger or hatred that you generated. He used an example of average person doing a snap, and snap time divided into 365, and generating anger just for one moment, which is 1/1 of 365 moment. Even if you generate or had a hatred or anger of that length, it will destroy. In Shantideva text, it talks about positive merit that you have created for 100 eons will get destroyed by that short moment of anger or hatred. In the engaging in the middle way path, another text, it talks about positive merits created for 1,000 eons. But here, these differences between the timing, one talking about 100 eons, refers to the hatred or anger generated by one bodhisattva against another bodhisattva. It's not, that's why it's a less 100 eons. But when engaging the middle way path, when it talks about 1,000 eons, it refers to the hatred or anger shown by ordinary people against a bodhisattva that will destroy 1,000. So we see here, difference. One obvious difference is differences of level of realizations, ordinary versus bodhisattvas, and there are other kind of circumstances or context how how or what level of your positive merits can be destroyed by anger or hatred. But however, here the point is that having this kind of anger or hatred will destroy only those positive merits that you haven't dedicated. So if you did a dedication at the end of whatever positive activities or karmic actions that you created, those won't get destroyed later by this kind of anger or hatred. And we find this mentioned in, of course, these two great texts. And the example that we use is if you are carrying a bunch of cash in your pocket and just walking, there's more chances of getting robbed. There's more risk. But instead, if you have those deposited in a bank, there's a safety and there's less chance of being robbed. So that's same kind of understanding we used in kind of doing a dedication. When you do dedication after creating a positive merits, it remain kind of safe and not get destroyed later by negative.
Is that because it's a psychological change that happens in your own mind when you do that?
The moran thinking to a thing yet that just did that chatan the kind of chago or in the some down that your that is also some learn some down that you want mewa cha to go the mewa chatan so down can just
아디 일레드 시우지 투첨벌이 있어 와 일레드 투첨벌이 있나 뭐 제샤도가라 뭐지 맞다 넘버 10 좀 이게 넘버 10 내 넘버 10 제 넘버 이게 넘버 10 이게 넘버 10 또 제가 뽑았다야다 보는 거에 이게 넘치기 지금 이게 남시 미스부 투첨보다 주고 있는 거 아니야 이 왕기 차고 지율 그래 요 그런 제단기 전에 합다 시럽 니나니 시럽다 하장 주고 늘으니까 시럽이 짐비 대와 간리나 동기도 근데 짐비 대와 되기데 좀 말씀도 뭐 맞잖아 이 추구 주제는 누구도 와 그때기 공도 주주제 소름기초 탑기 짐비 대와 간리지 이 뭐가 맞잖아 좀 그랬어 디스도 이래서 하장도 거기 리iten찮잖아 전주기 생기 zem바다 이래도 잘 거 같아 긴 좋은 거 알아 간지 셰럽기 zem바는 좋은 거 말해 뭐하자는 좋은 거뭐 진짜가 그 랑라 거기 이제는 젠지 돈달라 뭐서 이제는 왕사로 와 랑이 유베 배셔지 랑라 담보 유베 배셔지 이제는 제바이나 따디 랑이 다도 중요합니다 이제는 왕사로 와
we'll stop after this. The difference is here. It's coming out from when you do dedication. It's action of mind or thought. When we look at the consciousness, we usually cite 6 different types of consciousness. First 5 are sensory level consciousness, and then 6th one is the mental consciousness. And when we look at these 6, the consciousness is the karmic action that is created by a mental consciousness is most powerful, and most powerful, but also kind of quickest in terms of creating a karmic action. Unlike other senses or other consciousnesses, which has to go through some kind of stages. But the mental is, as soon as there's a thought, you create a karma. So it's much more quicker, much more stronger. So when we look from the perspective of method and wisdom, positive karma that is created with the support of wisdom, those also won't get kind of destroyed. But on the other hand, positive karma that is created based or with the support of method aspect, they can get destroyed. So again here, the wisdom being related with the mind or consciousness is considered as a much more a stronger or quicker or more stable. Another understanding would be when you do a dedication. Dedication is like it is like a kind of positive merit that you have attained, whatever karmic action that you did. Now you already kind of transferred that to somebody else's authority, for other sentient beings, and now it's no more with you, sort of. So you dedicate it, and it's kind of passed along, and so later when you did something, I don't know, hated or something, there's nothing that get destroyed. You already kind of sort of dedicated or sort of given or transferred to somebody else. That could be, you're saying that could be an example. Yes. Jambe Bawi Jidara Jamba da Gondo Zambo and the Jin the Da Kungi Jason Dalo Jin Gawa de da Tamje Rabdo Tusum Shabin Gawa Tamji Moa Kanla Chodo Aba de Da Jin Gawe Zawa de Gun Yazambo Junja Rabdo in the land and circled by snow-white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefits flows in a person, generously, tends and yasu, remain until samsara ends. And just as a bodhisattva manjushri attain omniscience and Samanta about to do, so now I do dedicate these to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the victorious Buddhas are past, present, and future, praise dedication to the Supreme. So now I do dedicate these souls of my merit for all beings to perfect good actions.